Hello, hello, Beth Martens here. Glad you could join me for this video where we're going to talk about the Alchemist Archetype. And maybe you're here because you have done the quiz at my website where you discovered you are in that alchemist phase on the hero's journey. You found yourself not just who you are, but where you are at this time of your life. So you know you can redo the quiz at other times. You might have to put your hand up and let me know so I can send a direct link. Otherwise, my system will think you've already been there and done that. But you can get a new photograph of where you're at different times of your life. It represents what's most important to you right now, where you're going to find more gifts and shadows. When you find shadows, you actually found gifts, because when you awaken those shadows, then you reclaim all of the lost energy, meaning, and purpose that was tied up in that being suppressed. So the alchemist is the last part of the journey that I write about in my book, Journey, a Map of Archetypes to Find Lost Purpose in a Sea of Meaninglessness. I also am a freedom-loving pattern hunter, very committed to helping people get and stay on their hero's journey because I almost died not doing that. And so I am a coach. I help people to deprogram and release those shadows. I also train coaches to do that. Coming up September 2024, we're going to be starting a new 7-month um, round of what's called Journey Code, teaching people how to read archetypes and help others deprogram and become a good boundaried coach who could make a living independently, which I'm always a good stand for. I'm also a business coach. I don't help people sell widgets. I only help them build services out of their life purpose, what they're authentically here to do because God tells them to. And I'm also the host of the King Heroes Journey podcast, so you can go and find that at in any of the podcast channels. And I live stream to YouTube and Rumble and X and Facebook and Rokfin. So please do join me there if you haven't already. All right, so we're going to talk about the Alchemist Archetype. This is the biggest of all the archetypes. If you thought the king was a big job, then this one is even more expanded. As you go up the spiral of purpose, and you reach the top, so to speak, you're not at the top. You're actually at the beginning again. We'll talk about that a bit more as well. And so there's a great deal to look at here. So the king, where we've come from last on this journey in order, and the order makes a difference because that's found in nature. I'm not making this shit up. I found this stuff in myself and in many others as well over the course of the last 20 years. And so by finding the order that's in nature, you can follow it like a map. And you don't have to hit any kind of challenge or breakdown or sense of being stuck in your life like it's just a wall of stuckness. You can be precise and you can go in. And so where we left off with the king, whose tendency is to be addicted to power, the same way the hedonist was addicted to pleasure, the king gets addicted to power. And the alchemist on the other side of the king is there for the king to be an advisor and to bring some very great gifts to allow the king hero to continue to lead in a benevolent way. So the sacred contract of the alchemist, less out in front and more behind the scenes, is to make a life that is a reflection of the transformations that they vision and create. So these are the superpowers. We'll talk about the gifts and the strengths first. The first one is wholeness, right? The alchemist starts to know the difference between pieces and parts of yourself, personality aspects that don't know each other, that don't talk to each other, that might seem Jekyll and Hyde to each other. Maybe you have friends that are like Jekyll and Hyde. One day they're your best friend, and the next day they're your enemy, and they have parts that don't communicate. It is a gift that the alchemist has to take what is separate and bring it together into wholeness, maybe marrying opposites and recognizing that opposites are really not opposites at all. In fact, I just taught a technique called marrying the opposites in my Archetypes of Controlled Op free gift. If you'd like to take part in that, you can visit my website and just with your name and email, sign up for that. So the alchemists are gifted at making something from absolutely nothing. They take nothing and they make something. And that's a unique quality not everybody has. They have the ability to vision and imagine something that doesn't exist and then go through the steps to make that actually happen. They can turn wounds into gifts the same way the lover could make beauty out of an ugly thing. The wounds become grist for the mill. The injuries, whatever happened in that place of the king, historically, most kings were killed. They are attacked. They are under fire. And so the alchemist is there for the deep healing of those wounds and any other wounds that might have been experienced in life. They work for social justice. They care about people. They more than just themselves as well, similar to the king. They have the gift of perfect timing, and their very presence sometimes is transforming to others, and the work they do can transform themselves as well. That can be a shadow we'll talk about. And they can counsel the powers that be behind the scenes, as we talked about. So they have the habit, we say, where the warrior would have gone out to change something, or the rebel warrior might have gone out to really like change something in the world, change an institution, or something that exists that shouldn't exist. The alchemist will change the outer world by changing the inner world. And what's the gift of that is it takes much less time, it takes much less energy, and you're way more in control and interacting with only your own inner self and energies and archetypes. So you're not going to call on a whole lot of opposition when you're doing your inner work. Nobody even knows it, but they do know it, and they will sense it. And things around you change when you change. Maybe you know that already. You have the ability to hold what you want in mind when you're receiving the gift of this archetype. Most people think about what they don't want all day long. They don't like it. And that is one of the shadows we'll talk about with this archetype in particular. They have a value for others, as anybody who loves social justice does. They make quantum leaps of inspiration and action. They don't need to necessarily go in order of the steps or the methodical ways. They can have much cleaner leaps that take less time and less energy. They are expert at releasing and seeing programs. So, this is a place to do very deep healing. Also, creativity is a gift, and navigating the collective unconscious and the emotional underworld that nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because our emotions and our inner world has been intensely weaponized against us. Most people have a bad experience inside themselves, or if they don't think they do, it's because they're not actually locating their awareness in their body, in their flesh, in their bones, in their heart, and their mind. So they have very subtle senses. They have subtle discrimination, subtle perception. They're a fan of experimentation. And I don't mean that in a gory way, that they're willing to take the risk of, okay, let's try this. And oh, that didn't work. Let's tweak that experiment. Let's try something new, something different. And they're willing to continue experimenting on and on and on until the future so they can get good results. They can tap into ancestral wisdom. I know that's something I've done a lot in the last 4 years, just really feeling what my ancestors had been through, how persecuted they had been by the same communists that are persecuting us right now. And that's taught me a lot to tap in with them. I've healed a lot through tapping in with the shadows of my ancestors that I can remember, of course. And the alchemists in the gift have the pleasure of doing little and producing a lot, because rather than just pushing the river and muscling through something like, again, the warrior would, then they can do the inner work to create outer circumstances that are more like flow and synchronicity that we're all a fan of. It's not really a goal, but it's a very happy side effect of being adept in the alchemist archetype. They have the power of naming, which also can very much be a shadow, a way of hiding things by changing the names, like diseases they say are gone, but they just renamed them. Of course, they seem gone, right? Like we experienced that with the common cold turned into COVID. And then there's no more, or the flu or whatever. There's no more flu anymore, and it's only COVID. And You know the drill. So they're also very much a catalyst for transformation in other people's lives, sometimes again just by their very presence being there. Some people like that, some people don't like that because they don't want to change. All right, so where does an alchemist lose their energy, lose their life, lose their inspiration? Is in one state of mind that I'm extremely familiar with in my past life is being grumpy about things that are being done wrong, whether that's in the financial system or the medical system or the education system or any kind of system. Then that grumpiness, of course, how far does that get you every single day when you just get mad and you grind, and maybe you grind your teeth at night and you're upset internally, low burning fire, frustration all the time. It doesn't get you far. It's a very dark shadow of the alchemist where we can stay stuck. A lot of people in the truth movement are, they're letting everything make them bitter rather than bringing them to life to create and vision. They have bad timing compared to the gift of perfect timing. They focus on what they don't want, meaning they can't hold in mind what they do want. They might not even be able to think of what they want when you ask them. It's a very good question to ask someone, like, what's your vision for the future? What good can you see? And then they might start talking about what they don't want. And then they're stuck in the shadow of this archetype. They might be going in too many directions at one time and feel the skills and the talents and the passions they have in life are all unrelated, but it really, in reality, it's just that the parts of themselves have not been seen to be whole. We feel to be parts, but in reality, we are whole, just one being. I'm just one person over here. And yes, I do consider myself a multi-passionate. I have a lot of different areas that I'm interested and skilled in, but they all present as one in my life because I've managed to pull that all together. It's something that I help people do as a business coach. And so they're not a many-headed dragon going in every direction, but all of the arrows and the energy points back to them inside their work and their soul and the value of that. So they tend to put spells and use their alchemist power to either hide themselves or spell others and curse others. They can fall victim to gossiping, which is a kind of spell on others. And they hold on to past grievances. They don't heal. They will have love-hate relationships that can be with the people in their lives. It can also be with things in their lives, could be with money. When you hear someone say that money is the root of all evil, you're talking to a shadow alchemist. And that is a place where you will lose energy and you don't have to stay stuck. So they don't develop the subtle senses. They might trash their senses and get caught in the tension between what appear to be opposites. They avoid being the catalyst. They, again, use their power to be unseen and give in to the fear of being seen. That might be a hangover from the king, where the king who stuck his neck out and got his head cut off, and that seemed like a bad idea. Now the alchemist is really tasked to go into that healing in a very deep way. So that's the alchemist archetype. You can see, where are you finding yourself, in more in the gifts or more in the shadows, or maybe a mix of both, or any combination. If you would like help to do some of this work, to deprogram, to be able to get to a place where you find your perfect timing and you create more experience of wholeness and freedom than you do of the conflict or the grumpiness or all of the other shadows that came up through these archetypes, then please do reach out to me. And you can visit my website, bethmartens.com, fill out a form where you can find a contact me, find that form that says contact me. And you could also pick up a copy of my book, which is a map of archetypes to find lost purpose in a sea of meaninglessness. You can see that at my website as well. So I think that's all for now. If you'd like to connect, I'd like to connect with you. I love to meet people in the freedom movement. I am very passionate about helping people be and stay on their hero's journey, because that's how the world is going to transform before our very eyes. By the way, that was one last shadow of the alchemist, is transforming in ways that are either disnatured or make no sense and really are not related to you. So you keep changing the thing because you say that, oh, that's not the thing, that wasn't my purpose. And you keep jumping from thing to thing. that are really not in any alignment with you, not purposeful for you. And then so your gift of transformation becomes a curse of transformation where you just keep leaving yourself behind. So that was one last thing I want to share about the Alchemist archetype. Thank you so much for joining me for this first of all, this quiz. If you haven't done the quiz yet, you can find that on my homepage, bethmartens.com. Just put your name and email, and you will get a direct link to that quiz. You can come back and do the quiz a different time. Just put your hand up and say, please, could I have the direct link to it so that you don't get stuck in that email process. And yeah, I look forward to getting to know you, seeing you on a podcast in the chat, and journey on. Keep going. That's my motto. Bye for now.